In the very heart of a vast and ancient jungle, nestled between the roots of towering trees and the murmurs of the wind. His name was Tambo, which in the language of the jungle meant storyteller. But while most elephants trumpeted and roared with booming voices, Tambo's voice was different. It was quiet and calm, like the gentle lapping of water on a quiet evening. Yet despite its softness, his voice held a strange magic. It carried a power that touched the hearts of every creature in the jungle. For Tambo didn't just tell stories, he told truths. And in doing so, he healed wounds that had nothing to do with his size or strength. One day, as the sun began its slow descent behind the tall trees, casting long shadows across the jungle floor, a shiver ran through the air. It was the kind of shiver that meant the coming night would be filled with whispers and secrets. The jungle animals gathered around Tambo, their eyes wide with anticipation as they waited for him to share a story. And that night, under the cloak of darkness, Tambo shared a tale that echoed with wisdom beyond his years. Deep within the belly of the mountain, far from the earshot of the jungle, there lived a creature of immense power, a giant serpent, whose scales glistened like rubies and whose eyes shone with the cold fire of 1,000 suns. It was called Ashwata, and its roar was said to shake the very foundations of the earth. However, Ashwata craved more than just power. It longed for recognition. It wanted to be known, feared, revered by all creatures great and small, and so it devised a plan. On nights when the moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the land, Ashwata would emerge from its lair and let out a mighty roar. And each time it did, a wave of terror would wash over the jungle, sending the animals scurrying for cover. This continued for many nights, each echo of its roar adding another layer to its legend. But one night, as the jungle was plunged into darkness, and Ashwata prepared to unleash its fearsome roar, in the clearing where the animals gathered to listen to Tambo's stories, a young deer stood unfazed, her eyes locked on the direction of the mountain. When Ashwata roared, she didn't flinch. Instead, she took a deep breath and replied, her voice echoing with surprising strength and clarity. "Your roar is loud, O Ashwata, but your message is weak. True power lies not in instilling fear, but in living with courage." These words struck a chord within the heart of every animal present. They realized that they had been allowing fear to dictate their lives, to control their actions, and limit their dreams. In the face of such bravery, Ashwata recoiled, taken aback by the deer's audacity. Its roars, once symbols of dominance, now rang hollow. And as the dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of hope and renewal, their eyes shining with newfound determination. From that day forward, the deer's words became their anthem. They no longer let fear dictate their lives. They faced their challenges head-on, their spirits bolstered by the knowledge that true strength lay in courage, not compliance. As the embers of the campfire died down, leaving the jungle cloaked in darkness. The animals looked at Tambo with newfound respect and gratitude. They understood that the stories he shared were not just tales of adventure or fantasy. They were mirrors, reflecting their own fears, their weaknesses, their potential. And as they made their way back to their homes, each animal carried a piece of Tambo's wisdom in their heart. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, the quietest voice can make the loudest statement. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and Tambo continued to share his stories, each one leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of the jungle's inhabitants. But as the seasons changed and the jungle entered a period of tranquility, a sense of unease began to stir within Tambo. The animals, once eager listeners, now seemed distracted. Their eyes, which used to shine with wonder, now held a distant look, as if their attention was captured elsewhere. A disquiet settled upon Tambo, a feeling that something vital was slipping away, something that had been the essence of his purpose. And so, driven by an instinct to understand this growing disquiet, Tambo decided to embark on a journey to the heart of the jungle to seek out the wisest creature he knew, an old and enigmatic turtle named Shelly. Shelly was renowned for her vast knowledge and her ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the deeper truths that connected all living beings. When Tambo finally reached Shelly's abode, a small clearing bathed in the soft light of the morning sun, he found her basking on a moss-covered log, her eyes wise and deep-set. After sharing his concerns, Tambo sat quietly, listening intently to Shelly's words. "The animals," she began, her voice a low and resonant hum, "have grown comfortable with the familiar. They have stopped listening to the whispers of their souls, the whispers that call them to dream bigger, to explore beyond the horizons of habit." Shelly continued, "They have allowed the echoes of fear and complacency to drown out the song of their true desires." Her words struck a chord within Tambo. He realized that the animals had become trapped in a cycle of sameness, their potential stifled by their own comfort. Determined to help his friends rediscover the magic that lay dormant within them, Tambo returned to the clearing where he usually shared his stories. This time, though, instead of weaving a tale from his imagination, he shared Shelly's words. The words that carried the potential to awaken the slumbering spirits of the jungle's inhabitants. As Tambo spoke, a transformation began to take place. The animals, as if awakened from a dream, stirred from their stupor. They looked at each other, truly saw each other, for the first time in a long time, and recognized the shared yearning for something more that flickered in each other's eyes. From that day on, the jungle was transformed. The animals, inspired by Tambo's words and Shelly's wisdom, began to take steps to reclaim their dreams. The timid deer, emboldened by a newfound courage, ventured further into the jungle, discovering a hidden meadow. A troop of monkeys, tired of living life on the sidelines, swung into action, literally. Their music, filled with joy and abandon, echoed through the trees, inviting all creatures to join in the celebration of life. And Tambo, encouraged by the changes he was inspiring, continued to share stories. But now his stories had a new depth, a new resonance. They were no longer just tales of adventure, but guides, signposts, pointing the way to the hidden treasures within each animal and within themselves. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the animals gathered once more around Tambo. They listened as he wove a tale of transformation, of how facing one's fears could lead to unexpected growth and understanding. And as the night deepened and the stars twinkled overhead, the animals realized that their journey had just begun. The jungle, once teetering on the edge of complacency, was now alive with purpose, with each creature playing their part in the grand symphony of life. And Tambo, the quiet elephant with the voice of magic, was the conductor of this orchestra, guiding them all toward a harmonious melody of growth, understanding, and self-discovery.